This week, Nagy and I's guest is live on a cruise ship. He is managing the Voyager of the seas. He shares some of his times working with Nagy and playing on the Flow Rider, as well as some of the antics that happen across a different crew, and his favorite ports to go to. So, join us for this week's guest, Rue Lewis.
Yes, so psyched. Just bringing smiles to my heart, my friend. Now, I think one of my favorite things is you're from a little country called Wales. And for all the Americans listening, they have no idea what the fuck that means. And that always made me laugh of just being like, yeah, it's basically just England. And like you and Kieran and stuff would just be like, I'll stab you. Like, I will bottle you right here. So, yeah, dude, just little history on where everything is, so we have some of the American listeners caught up, and then your time, brief stuff on ships.
Easy, yeah. So Wales, probably everyone knows in America now, is where Wrexham is, because that's what those two famous guys bought, that football club over there.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Those guys. But yeah, it's essentially a little country on the west side of England. Only 3 million people. We are not English. We are British. We are from the UK, but we are not English.
Are you the British Isles?
We are the British Isles, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's messed up as well, because there are like parts of the UK that are islands that are not Great Britain. Like Great Britain is only the island. So every other little island off it has.
Yeah, so for like Americans listening, there's the UK, which almost looks like a little dinosaur kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is Britain. And then you've got Wales, Northern Ireland, and some of the other things that make up the British Isles. Scotland.
So Northern Ireland.
No.
Northern Ireland is not Great Britain, therefore it's not part of Great Britain, but it is part of the UK.
So you can tell that's how long it's been since I've worked with an Irishman and Welshman and Scotsman to just be like, go fuck yourself.
Nagy, and I know you don't always look at the analytics, but we have listeners all over the world, so speak to everyone.
But
and
they probably know what
all the UK people are grinding their teeth right now listening to you. But
they probably have an education that envelops that.
Question for Rue, though, about the Isles portion of it. Tell me more about the Isle of Guernsey. I went there once, but I heard this is like where everyone goes to evade taxes and duck the government entirely.
I mean, you can do that on basically any of the islands. Guernsey, Jersey, Isle of Man, Alderney.
Okay.
It's not connected to Great Britain, so you're fine. That's probably some sort of tax output. Unfortunately, I'm connected to the mainland, so I don't get out of that little scheme.
Not evading your taxes, bro?
No.
Bummer. Yeah.
I mean, technically I am.
Yeah, fair.
Technically. We don't get taxed because I work outside the UK. I'm outside the UK for longer than 6 months at a time. I don't get taxed.
Oh, wow, okay. So that's a pretty sort of bono for anybody thinking about jumping on.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
Okay, interesting tax question. You started in what, 2016, right?
Yeah, February 28th, 2016. Which one?
Were you getting paid in cash at that time?
No, I missed the cash period payment by like a year, I think.
I told you were like one of the last ones. So when I jumped on, they had just transferred over to the salary at sea. So we had the card that you would still have to take cash out to put on your like bar card. But I think by the time, yeah,
dude.
But you couldn't link it at that time. It was not an available system.
Yeah. No, cool.
I need somebody on from this time frame to back me up that we used to just get wads of money in manila envelopes. Like, nobody believes me. That's how we used to get paid.
Just like a fat cash, like, there you go.
Yeah, I heard there would be massive lines outside HR to pick up the cash.
Yep.
I remember everyone talking about that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay, so what was your first ship then?
Freedom of the Seas.
Ooh, okay. Ship. So you were out of what, Miami, Fort Lauderdale?
Orlando, actually. Yeah, so we were out of Orlando, which is where I am now, which
Okay.
is kind of like really super, super weird. But phenomenal. I
All
love
right.
Orlando.
Really?
Yeah, because Disney World and Universal.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you're like an hour and 15 minutes away, so like.
Yeah, but I got transferred, so I had a day and a half in Orlando.
Oh, sick. Okay,
That's
yeah,
dope.
fair.
All right. So where you come from
Yeah.
then?
I was in Utopia. I'm now on Voyager.
Ooh, okay. That's a big change of pace.
Yeah.
It's nice though. It's nice to have like the 24/7 like absolutely smashing work, and then come to a little bit of a different shit where everything's a little bit slower pace. Can kind of do things with a bit more thought and add a little bit more to your program rather than just trying to be like, this is going, this is happening, get this out now, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, there is no stopping on the giant ships by any way, shape, or form. But so I want to ask you back to your first contract. Okay. So it was in Orlando. What was kind of your first feeling when you started this whole journey? Because you've been doing it close to 8 years at this point. And I kind of want to hear retroactively, what did you think on your first day? You get onto that ship and some random dude comes up to you and is like, hey, I'm your roommate.
Well, I think the first thing for me was I'd never flown outside of Europe. That was a shock. Doing it on your own, going to Miami, Orlando, and just be like, okay, well, I'm here now in a different country. If I die, that's it. This is over. But then, so you have the night in the hotel, and we got the bus to the ship. I'd never seen a cruise ship in my life. Wales isn't exactly the prime location for cruise ships. And if you know that. So
literally like 1% of your population is on a cruise ship.
Yeah, not even like 0.2.
Yeah.
So we got the bus. The bus is like an hour and a bit to the terminal. And then I looked outside the window. I was like, wow, that's a big ship. Wow, that's a big ship. They were both like, I think they were both Carnival ships. And then we pull up to the terminal where the Royal ship was, where Freedom was. And I just get out. We walk up to like the gate, waiting by security to go through scanners. Just looking at this thing like, what is this? How does this float? Why does this exist? And then you get on board. No, wait in the terminal. There's a new hire, a new Royal now. So they changed.
Oh, it's not a new hire, new Royals?
No, it's like better. It's less like what's the word? It's less, let's say, less aggressive. But it's a bit of a nicer term than saying new hire.
Less hazy.
You feel a bit more accepted by the company, you know. So yeah, we have new Royals now, but at the time it was new hires. And you wait in the terminal, and so my supervisor at the time came to pick me up from the terminal, and he instantly realised that out of everyone there, I was clearly the sports staff. just grabbed me. I went, all right, let's go on board. Do like a quick walk around of the ship. Like, here's the laundry. Here's where you eat. Here's where you might drink, but not for your first 2 weeks. And then you go straight to smoking area. Like, this is where you're going to smoke. And he's like, you smoke? Yeah. And I was like, I just quit. Not anymore.
No. Oh my God. I will say, I'm going to little retro explanation, just so for everybody knows, Rue is a very well-built, like, standard rugby player-looking Welshman. So when they walk in, like we said, you're going to see a bunch of these tiny Filipinos, Indonesians, Indians. So if the guy's like, who could possibly be sports staff? Like, the guy with yoked shoulders. Yeah, that's going to be you. And when our first contract, the guy did the same thing. He's like, sports staff. And I was like, no, we're youth staff. And he's like, really? All right. But so you're on the ship. You found the smoking lounge. Did they show you your room?
I got shown my room to drop off my stuff, and it was the walk around. And we have 2 separate places to eat for crew on Freedom and Voyager class.
Yeah.
So he took me to the one, like we call it the staff mess. So I went up to the staff mess. He sat me down and went, hey, look, I got to eat and run, but just go to your room and I'll call you. And I was like, think I know where my room is.
Oh my God. On a freedom class? Yeah.
No idea. Absolutely not a clue. It took me about 20 minutes after to find my room. That was a journey in and of itself.
And you're lugging your bags
also,
around this whole time, too. Like, trying to figure out where this is. No, you left them?
We dropped them at the room, but I couldn't remember for love of money where the room was.
That, and you're flying back in time. So did you have, like, the red eye, like, you flew back in time, stay at the hotel, get up at the crack of dawn, and then go find your room on this ship you've never been on. Yep. Godspeed.
Good luck. And then day one is like, you're working now. Here's your uniform. You have to do all these trainings, by the way. So you should know how to assist guests with disabilities, how to lift the box using ergonomics, your workplace safety, your pre-departure safety training. And then once you've done all that stuff and you're expected to remember where you have to go during 7 short, 1 long, or whatever drill you have, it's like, okay, and now you're going to go on a rock wall and you're going to teach people how to fly.
Wow, so you guys got
and
thrown into it.
It's only 3 p.m.
Yeah. I was going to say like a day of trainings, because we've gone over it a little bit before of, the day of trainings. Then like you said, like, okay, cool. Now that you're like asleep from trainings, go hop and do activities for the guests.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And those first 2 weeks, I think everyone has experienced who's worked on a cruise ship are the most intense for you as a new person to work on ships, because you have to be so up to date with getting all of those initial trainings done. But once those trainings for the first couple of weeks are done, then you kind of get into the role and rhythm everything, and people start to feel a bit more comfortable and confident in their job role.
Trainings and like train new hires, royals or whatever they're called.
Well, I spent like forever as a staff. I spent 5 years as a staff before I even stepped into like a supervisory role. So I was at that point then when I was like, okay, I don't want to be toss them in at the deep end. So I think things changed over time with people being introduced more gradually into the program and a lot more shadowing. And trainings were now being online a lot more than in person. So you could kind of do it more in your own time with the person directly in front of you, which helps a lot with flexibility around work. So that was...
I still like the trial by fire.
Dude, I don't... To be completely fair, though, I don't know how many trainings I've missed because I just was not paying attention and zoned out in that first 2 weeks, because you're just like, oh, I gotta do whatever, and then you're just in the middle of it, and then you get called down to Soup's office and, hey, did you not go to Fire Hose Extinguisher 208 today at 12:15? Shit. No. Okay. All right. You're doing it next week.
Right. That or it was like, well, aren't you checking the board with the announcements on like, so for us, we had big boards, and it's like, just check to see where your thing is. It's like, dude, I don't know where that is. My brain's only at this point remembered cabin, food, work area. Like, and then it's like, if you check that board, like, I'll check it later, but right now I got to go. And then you forget. And then it's like, did you check the board? Like, no, it keeps moving on me. It's like a goddamn opposite of the room requirement. It's just fucking going everywhere. I don't need it.
Yeah, no, we were super lucky. We were super lucky because it would be like in the schedule. It's there. Yeah. That's where you're going. This is where it is. Supervisor was like, do you know? No. Come with me. Yeah. It was one of those. So that was really good. But the weirdest thing, right? So obviously, like, my supervisor picked me up day one to bring me on board. I just replaced him as a manager on this ship.
Oh, dang.
That's
the circle of life.
Surreal.
Wow.
Surreal.
Was there like a cool moment? Did you guys hug?
Oh, yeah. Lots of chat. It was like, how did I get here? How did we let this?
This is still going on. All right.
So continuing that then, how did you get there? What was your first turnaround day like? Because that's a very alarming day for a lot of people as well. Either you get stuck with debark, embark, wherever you're slapped, it's still overwhelming to witness all this happen.
Well, I got PAX drill straight away. because we used to do where you'd have the package and everyone would close all the venues and all the guests would go to the stations. Now it's a lot more fluid. Now it's what we call Mustard 2.0. So you have people stationed there for like 4.5 hours. Not the same people all the time. They rotate on a shift. And the guests just come to you as soon as they come on board. They either do the information briefing right there or then, or they check in and they've already checked everything on their phone, on like the app. So it's a much smoother process. Then once everyone's checked in, once everyone's gone through the safety briefing, then the captain makes an announcement and sounds the signal. So everything much smoother. But on PAX, it was like, you're going to be here, you're going to clear this area, just tell the guests to go to their station. If you don't know where that is, ask the person next to you and just hang out there. So I was on like above pool deck, where the track was, and I spent the entire time after everyone left the deck just peering over the side of the boat.
Just watching just like the whole operation.
Yeah. Just be, I'm so confused right now.
Yeah.
And there's forklifts shooting across everything. You're seeing literally pallets of Grey Goose come onto the ship.
Yeah.
And you're just genuinely eyeballing everything that's coming in. And so for you were up on the track, so you were on the very tippity top. So you could see everything on the port too. It must have looked like just a bunch of ants.
Yeah. It was weird. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's so surreal. You just let it happen because you don't know what else to do. You just go, all right, well, this is my life now. I'll just accept this. I'll get on with it, and the best of the best. And you don't have time to just sit down and think and go, what am I doing?
Right.
Because you're so in it, and you're just trying to figure out where you are and where you need to be and what you should be doing. And then by the time you figured that all out, you're already like, you're settled and you know people. And yeah, you're trained pretty much on everything. It's weird. Really
I miss it
weird.
because you're thrown into friends. Like, people, like you said, you're a new hire, even if you get on a ship. If I was thrown on a ship right now where I didn't know anyone, the general vibe is that it's just like, we're stuck with you until further notice. For sports have at least 7 months for you. So we might as well, like, you get to the meat of conversations. You get to know people so fast. Like, this guy's chill as fuck. Like, we like rugby, we like lifting, we like drinking. We're going to be just fine. And so accepting right away. I think that's a huge thing versus like what I've noticed on land is I go to a job. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And like, oh, we all know each other. You're an outsider. They're like, oh yeah, this isn't ships where we're like all working and then all going to the bar later. Like that was one thing that was nuts, and it just sucks you in right away.
And you find the right people really quickly because you figure out very quickly who wants to be friends with you and who doesn't. And generally, though, I would say pretty much everyone's very, very friendly because we're all in the same boat, phrase, but we are. Like, you're stuck with each other. There are so many rules and regulations that if you make people's lives hard, it's just going to be harder for you. So people don't bother. They just get on with it. They do the job, and everyone's generally quite nice, which makes everything easier because it can be tough and strenuous, and going from working 5 days a week with your weekend to then working 7 days a week, every week, 7.5, it hits hard. Like, it's tough.
But did you have any people that were signing off soon that like you didn't meet at all?
That's a good question.
Because I had a couple of those.
Well, no, our team was so small.
I guess it's
like
freedom. Yeah.
9 people. It was freedom. We had like 9 people.
Well, then let's flip the question. Every time, this is a very sports staff specific thing. So if you are one of those fun cruisers and you go up to any one of your sports staff and say, who's the current Rockwall bitch? That is the person that can only work Rockwall because they are not trained on anything else.
Right.
And they're stuck there for 2 weeks. That's all you get to do is Rockwall and like
Rockwall
a tournament.
Is the easiest one to train and
And
So you get to, it's not overly busy all the time on the rock wall. And even still back in the day when we started, we were belaying each other. So we would just sit there and talk while we were belaying. So who really kind of took you under their wing then, as you were transitioning out of your rock wall bitchness?
So there was me and another new hire who were around the time, a guy called Jack Weewall, and then Joao Martin, who I became pretty close with both of them. And Jack was like the actual one. He was also from the UK. He was like my buddy. He helped me along. But Joao was like the guy who was like, we need a practice flow rider. And we did it every, like it was crazy. We spent like 2 to 3 hours away when it closed. Just to make the move.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those two.
And
I think Brazzo was like supervisor, and he was.
Yeah, big ups to Brazzo, who we've talked about before. Being one of the most phenomenal.
I can tell this story since I am long gone from Royal Caribbean. Brazzo saved my ass, and Rue, you will love this. I was one day sitting on the rock wall on the Allure, and I was just fucking around doing whatever. Nobody was on. I think it was like February, like it was so dead. And I was sitting there spinning the harness, and I cracked the glass. And oh, it was a mess. It was an absolute nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. What'd you say, Nagy?
Zip line or rock wall?
On the zip line.
Okay, it was a
zip line. Zip line, dude. I'm on launching. And the glass completely cracks. They had to replace the whole thing. Brazzo made sure I stayed around, but let me tell you, my heart rate was up all night long because we had to basically, conveniently, this is how it all worked out. There was a show going on, so we were able to just shut off the little portion that they needed to just to replace the glass real quick. Yeah. And since the show was going on, nobody was going up and down the boardwalk. You know how it is. In the middle of the aqua show, it's dead. Nobody's doing anything.
Yeah.
So it basically just kind of wasn't a conundrum. Happened and moved on. Dude. Did 2 more contracts. We're good, baby. We're good.
in the past, now a part of fame, and you can bet Brazzo told every single fucking.
He's told this story to
do not swing
everyone.
Your crotch carabiners.
He's told all of them. He's told them all. He's told every single person at this point, probably. It was him and Nikki. They took care of me,
and he was my supervisor there as well.
Yeah.
So you guys just played on the Flow Rider most of the time, and that was on those Freedom class ships too are dope back in the day. They were just like a stadium. Yeah. So you had the lights kicking on you. You were blaring the music because everybody was at the shows. Nobody could hear you guys. So you were just probably jamming out all night.
It was just so sweet, and we did used to have I think, to be honest, I think we had more lessons back then on that classic ship. I don't think many people are booking lessons on that class anymore. It's very much focused on Oasis class. You see a lot more of those Flow Rider lessons coming in. So we had the time to utilize the wave. After 7 p.m. you go. And we'd be there till 11:30 sometimes.
Yep.
Just whatever worked. And it was amazing. Amazing. I didn't need to go to the gym anymore. I just rode.
That's what. Oh my God! Thank you. Some vindication. We have talked countless times how I would ride or fly, and he's like, "No, you still need to hit up the gym," and I'd just be like, "Nah." And I think the Flow Rider, is probably where we actually started bonding as friends because ours was Allure.
Allure, yeah, 2017. Allure first.
Wait. Yeah. So when did you get on then? Because that's a. Or was that your second contract on the Allure, Nagy? We were on that.
That was my third.
Oh, so we were on in 2016 together. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Fish and I met on Oasis when I was still youth. Then when I got my second contract, my first contract of sports was on Allure with him, and I honestly feel like you came on months after his replacement.
I
Doesn't
came
matter.
on. I left freedom like October, and I was on a law from end of November, like 2016.
So I was still at that point where I didn't quantify time. I just followed Jera to the ships. So
No.
I started like actually tuning in like far later. So
Like
No,
Ovation.
I was on the Harmony at that point. So
yeah,
yeah.
but no, I
Yeah,
think
no,
so. You and I started bonding because of Flowrider. And that was another perk of Flowrider. Where it's like, hey, I don't really know you. This is your other contract. Do you want to go up and ride? And you could like check levels and like, oh, cool, this guy's good enough to fuck around on a boogie board, or he's good enough to challenge each other. Or, you know, did you guys have a flow show? You kind of do things like that. Like, that's how we would always look at it of like, what's this new person like? Are they going to be an addition, or like, are they just going to kind of hang out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they going to be good or are they going to be bad? Like, do
Yeah.
they want to do stuff, or are they just there to like get the job done and leave?
Right.
But yeah, we like straight off. I was like, Flowrider, let's go again, because I'd not been there for like a month. And you started doing tricks, and I was watching like especially like the 360 with the board, acid drop from like the top. And I was like, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I am actively going to do this, and like jumping off the top wall, like front flips.
The
like,
flips all
Ideal
day.
Freedom.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, a little different animal.
No one did that, and I was like, this is cool. I can copy that. I'm happy. Like, I didn't have to fall and not break my neck. So
Yeah. Joao would be the guy who would jump off the top, crazy kick flips, like off the top of the side of the flow rider. And then be like, nah, I've got a bunch of knee problems, but I'll go for like a double front flip diving down the thing. Like, I'm fat enough to take an impact and still be okay.
yeah, Flow Rider was sick, especially like the Flow Show. When we did the Flow Show and we had like Mission Impossible, that was super sick. That where you hold like the board between two people, jump from the board to like the boogie.
Well, it would change the dynamics because, like, if you would sign on, now you have me and you who can support holding a, flow rider surfboard at our shoulder height, so fish can get on the top and flip off. If you have like, Johnny from Mauritius, it's like, hey, can you hold this other person up with us? Like, no, we need to hold up Johnny.
Well, I remember you were regular and I was goofy, so it was like,
yeah,
easy.
That's all thanks to Fish teaching me there.
Dude, luckily in my flow shows, I was always the smallest guy, and I had a ton of Serbians to just like yeet me across the flow rider.
Yeah. I was always the guy at the bottom middle of the pyramid.
Oh, I was always at the top.
You know.
Bro, I was looking at you guys. Are you stable? Are they good? They're good? Okay, climb. Nope. And then you get up and you go, yay, whoo, and bail out. Or if you're like, you know what, today, you could beat these guys down with an oak tree. Let's go!
Because we had you, me, and Ryan. I don't know if you remember Ryan from England.
Ryan Solomon.
Yeah, it's Mr. Solomon. Dude, this guy is like me and Rue put together with rugby, and just that was the arc. Like, we'd be falling and he'd like pull up your boogie board to keep you basic. Like, he couldn't really ride that well, but he was literally just fiber and sinew muscle and like a human monster. Like,
he'd just be feeding wave into your mouth. He's like, I got you, bro.
Like, we got to the point where the pyramid didn't fall anymore. They had to start turning it off because we all three of us made it a challenge of like, we're not going down unless you make us. Oh, that's right.
So, Rue, there are all crew parties, and you've probably been to countless of them at this point.
No.
What's been your favorite theme for an all crew party throughout all the years?
That's an amazing question. Favorite theme. I think the Halloween one just straight up sick. Every Halloween party has always been like phenomenal on whatever ship I've been on. But I will say we did a heroes and villains birthday party for someone. And that was wicked. That was on Freedom as well. That was my first ship. Like, we really knew how to like throw a party. And I bought like a whole gladiatorial costume with a 6-inch gladiator gold boot. And like the whole attire, the sash, contoured abs on me with like,
there you
that
go.
was crazy. That was so good. And we had a rainbow party as well for Pride. One of the guys from the cast came out as Britney and had danced around him for what's that song? Oops, I Did It Again. There's no slave for you. That was
geez.
Oh, so was he in the red? Was he in the red get up, the whole latex suit? Or no, I'm a Slave for You was like the jungle costume.
He was in black latex, but the 3 other male dancers were just in boxers. And it was like they killed it. It was so good. And I think the biggest parties were the ones for Freedom. But there were parties that you'd see like charters throw, or you would see like guests throwing that were just insane. And you knew.
Were you on Atlantis with us on Allure?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Yeah, I knew we talked briefly about that, of just same kind of vibe of, but yeah, that was the Halloween ones, like you said, were always good because of everybody went as hard as they wanted, but it showed like the creativity. It wasn't like oh, everybody's going as, Toga or this, but like the heroes, villains, like that is a great premise. And like that's when it could add the creativity where the crew have the chance to go out and kind of get their own costumes and make it fun. And Freedom Class, it was like kind of hit or miss if the team size was good, because sometimes the cast and like cruise division and sports all on the same vibe. Other times you kind of like, especially with the new cast, like they got to get time to break in. But like towards the end of it, it was like, dude, those were some of like our best friends. So that's when those parties were just nuts.
I was so close to like the cast of most of my ships till I stepped up to supervisor, I think, because then it's a different kind of dynamic. But the Freedom Class was amazing. Guys, Allure, I think second contract on Allure. So second time I went back to Allure, when we did Halloween, I had 3 different costumes. Because
I'm so not shocked by that, but in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I had to do the mob dance promenade. So I was dressed as Phantom of the Opera, coming down the rising tide, tending to play the piano on the rising tide, going into like Thriller, and the choreo we practiced for like a month. So all the U staff, crew, sports staff, absolutely slayed it. It was phenomenal. And then we went from there into a crew party. And at the crew party, the sports guys have been rehearsing LMFAO. So Party Rock Anthem and Sexy I Know It. And we'd all dressed as a specific character. I dressed as Box. So I got this Box Head.
Oh, Box Head. I thought it was a great
guy. I don't know. The guy who wears box. So we had like cut out and like everything was done, and then we were all wearing shorts and like no top, but we're just covered in baby oil. And then on Sexy I Know It, we'd all like left a line down the back of our shorts, and we just ripped them off, and it was just sitting there in undies. But that was sick. And then I had another change after that for like Halloween pyro. But that party was crazy good.
And the other thing is, like, on the bigger ships too, the cool things that would happen at these parties is oftentimes departments would do costumes. So you would see like 20 or 30 people come in themed all as one thing. To your gladiator idea, I remember one night we were in Civitavecchia. We were coming into Civitavecchia and we had all crew party the night before, and it was Roman themed. So all the sports staff came as gladiators. Every single one of us. We all had our shirts off. We had some sort of sword in our underwear. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's just when you have like that connection with the team, and you all manage to like pull in together and do that. It just changes all the entire vibe. And I think that was for us. That was the team I loved. Were you there for Hudson? Were you there for Matt Hudson? When we went and did that quest.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Is this a crew quest?
So this I've touched on it, but Rue can probably remember a little more than me. But
okay.
Yeah. So carry on, my friend.
So we all went to quest. I remember a particular kind of breakout between Mr. Nagy and a guy called Christian, who was also from Wales.
Yes. So I talked about. So Christian was the one I've mentioned before that was banned. That Hudson had banned from drinking hard liquor. He says if you touch hard liquor, you're fired. So he could only drink beer or wine. And I think on this night, Hudson let him. Either he let him or could not control him getting his hands on. But I don't actually remember a kerfuffle. Carry on.
Oh, there were hands. There were hands on. Like, it was choking. It was bad.
What?
Like, you guys, like, yeah, we separated that, like, super quick. And we were like, okay, guys, away from each other. Don't do anything stupid. And we were at the phase in, like, Quest game where we no longer had clothes.
Yeah.
So
no,
it was
forget
kind of
Tarantino. Start at the beginning.
So, okay, all right, run this back. So, Rue, this is a crew quest or a guest quest?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
we just gotta be clear, because we gotta explain that sometimes the cruise director or somebody would host the same game show that you guys did for us,
with a twist.
But more.
Yeah.
That's just the best way to put it. But more. So, Rue, you go in. It's crew quest night. Everybody's had a few beers or hard liquor, depending on who you are. There's probably it was vape pens passed around as well. So there are things flowing.
Way before.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's probably like a gas can of a vape, like these things going.
I don't think anybody had them at that point.
No, we didn't have anything like that until like post-COVID.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're just drinking.
Yeah. It's like bottles are in the. So I have a memory of this, but I think I blurred it with another one. Because the story I told was that Jared and I went to like dinner, and I was like, yeah, I wasn't really crazy partying, but I have the one with Christian. I remember that one getting bonkers. I think I've melded them. So I know
different.
Okay.
With Christian, people had bottles of wine and liquor and mixer like stashed in the seatings. Like it was kind of like, I think even the guy would say like, don't let me see anything unless you're actually buying drinks. Like
no drinks on the ice.
Yeah.
That was it. It's always, you can have what you want in the seats, but no drinks on the ice.
Yeah. And so we had, and again, I feel like that's kind of what led to Christian getting his hands on something, is someone had a bottle a little too nearby.
So let's roll this back. Rue, we'll set the scene.
Yeah.
You walk in. Crew Quest is held in Studio B, same place you guys do. That's why they're saying no drinks on the ice, because there's a special cover on the ice rink that we take on and off, and it's just a bitch to clean. So it's easier to just lay down the law and say, don't do it. And you guys all come in. It's always BYOB, so everybody's bringing drinks. And it's probably late, so it's what, 11 p.m. this is starting? 10, 11, probably, maybe even midnight?
Yeah. I would say
midnight.
The probably starting around midnight, but you could get in at like 11. I'm pretty certain they had the bar in the corner open for crew.
Okay.
Right. There was definitely no guests allowed at this. This is
no way. The doors were closed. It was on a night where I don't think any shows were on in Studio B. It may have been after Mamma Mia.
Right.
He may have gone Mamma Mia, drink, Quest.
Okay.
because it got pretty heated.
I don't remember this.
So
Yeah, we go in, we sit down, everything's pretty chill. People are drinking. The quests, like they're pretty normal to start off with. It's like, bring me a coin, bring me a something with time on it that's not a watch, and then it kind of vamps up a little bit. It's like, I want to see something inappropriate,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it gets worse and worse. And at the end
I'll
of
feel
it,
that.
all the guys
Let's
are dressed
see
like women.
3 chicks making out. Like, it gets rowdy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then at the end, it's like, I want you to dress up your team captain as a woman, and they have to do a strip tease on the HR special.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Did you do the dance? Yes. All right. I'm browned in and out of this. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're grinding on the HR specialist, Drew. Continue.
But anyway, so it came to a point in the game, and we stopped it like before this was way before the end. Got to a point in the game where like Christian was yelling stuff at the person who was hosting, and you were having none of it.
Yeah.
You're like, bro, shut up, be respectful. And he was like, who do you think you are? And then it like escalated.
Yeah.
And he was behind you, you were in front of him, and you turned around, and then it was just a case of guys pulling you both off each other.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. All right. That tracks.
So
Because I guess what I would say leading up to this is the manager before Hudson was Gustavo. And there was a couple of times where we would go out and he would have to dismiss himself because we were getting so rowdy that he's like, I can't actually be here because if someone else reports the sports staff getting too rowdy and the sports manager's right there, that kind of thing. And Hudson was very much along the same vibe. And so it's like at another Halloween party, the entire sports team had dressed up in togas and we created a bunch of different chants and like had just gotten very rowdy. And so Hudson had done like kind of the same thing. So yeah, I can remember bits and pieces of that would track with like, don't ruin this for all of the sports staff, fueled with fuck you, fuck me, fuck you kind of crap. And then, all right, yeah. So
like a standout moment. But I think this is one thing I wasn't even there for. I heard this from Ivan. So I was just with Ivan on Utopia.
Right.
And he told me about a little special moment they used to do on iFly. Oh yeah, you're you. Where if someone was to mention the word Narnia, you would just pop on your iFly helmet, charge at the wall, and then hit the deck.
That was Yvonne's favorite thing. So this was not a bad thing. It's not the same vein as Christian. So next to the sports decks was like a coat rack. And I started this thing, and it started with our buddy Tom, and then Yvonne loved it. So Yvonne would like take things really personally. He'd get like ground down. And then he'd go, Nagy, where's Narnia? And I'd go, it's in the wardrobe. And I'd sprint around the sports deck and full on dive into the coat rack wall and hit it in front of however many guests happen to be standing there. And Yvonne would get bumped up from that. So that has nothing to do with the crew quest, but that was just Yvonne and a little Nagy moment.
I think it was the best thing when you just pop up and you go, well, I guess it's closed today. And that just became a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, parties were wild. Parties were always pretty good. I would say like pre-COVID parties are very different than post-COVID parties.
Let's talk about that, because you were on the ships during this whole pandemic thing. So, like, what was it being locked up onto a ship? And tell us the whole story.
Where were you when COVID hit?
I was in Hong
Kong. Okay, so you're on Quantum?
I was on the retake out of Spectrum. So this was when we started going back to survey. When it hit, I was on Harmony.
Okay.
So I got off Harmony for like a year and a bit. And then
you were off ships. You got to go home.
Oh. As soon as like it hit the news when we closed down, I had a week on board and I left.
Okay.
I got out and I went home. But when I came back, Hong Kong was still really, really strict, like super strict with restrictions. To the point where I had to do 45 days of quarantine before I could get on board.
Whoa.
That's wild.
So you quarantine in the hotels, right?
Yeah, so I had to do, because from the UK, you're not even allowed to fly to Hong Kong unless you're out of the UK for more than 3 weeks. So I was sent to Rome for like, I think it was 24 days. I did 24 days quarantine in Rome. And then I got my next flight. But because my flights didn't line up, one was delayed and the next flight was with a different company, they changed our flight. So instead of flying through Switzerland, which was fine, we had to fly through Frankfurt, which was not okay. So we then, instead of having 2 weeks quarantine, had an additional 3 week quarantine in Hong Kong when we got there. So I then had to do 3 weeks quarantine in Hong Kong, which came to like 45 days total. And then I got on board.
Were you rationed? I know some guys were rationed bottles. Other guys only rationed like beers or wine. Did you have any of that? Or were they just like, nah, you get food in isolation?
So you would order your meals, and with your meals you get like a water or a glass of wine or a beer or a soda. But you couldn't like order more unless you paid.
Okay.
But most of the time, if I didn't like what I had to eat, I'd just order from what was it? Food Panda. I like getting an order from Food Panda. or just eat it. And I would just ask them to drop at the desk, and the desk would bring it up. So
Okay.
I got through it. It was what it was. Like, we were going back to ships. It was going to be a big thing, and it was just get back to work. Get back to work, get on with it. I wanted to be back on board. It was an opportunity for me, so I did it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how have things changed then for you?
Well,
obviously you get a big single cabin to yourself now, because everybody needs to be quarantined in their own area. Not that you're all important or anything.
Initially, no, because we did all of our quarantine off the ship. Once we were on board, we didn't require quarantine from other cabin mates.
Okay.
That was the difference between a lot of the ships that were out of China or like Asia and the ships that were out of the US.
Interesting.
Wow.
But
Were you guys the first startup? Like, were you on before guests, or were you joining? Okay,
we
so
were
you
on
kind of...
before guests. We were there like, I want to say 3 weeks before guests got on.
Wow.
And then guests got on, and it was you wear a mask every.
Yeah.
You had to sit in your I can't remember exactly what they called them, but you got designated group of people that you were allowed to sit with for food, also allowed to sit with for social time. You couldn't sit with other groups because you had to figure out if someone got COVID in that group, who else they needed.
Right, so they could track it all down.
Yeah, so they had tracking groups, and my group got assigned to the cat because my girlfriend at the time was in the cat. So instead of being able to sit down and chill with the sports team, I had to sit down and chill with the cat. Which,
I mean, that's kind of a small blessing. Oh no, super fit bodies.
Oh, stunning people that can all sing and are extremely talented and have decent egos and healthy conversations about things.
I didn't realize.
Or sports staff. We want to talk about why they can't drink, smoke, and go like watch football.
Well, it was a very different demographic when we came back to sports. Really different. I mean, we had 15 Chinese new hires when I got back to Spectrum.
Wow.
You know, that was wild. It was a lot of training, a massive amount of training, and we had Gower on board with us for 3 months trying to reintroduce iFly.
Wow.
Because that was a challenge in itself. We had 3 guys on iFly classes in 3 months. Just 3 guys. They killed it. They did an amazing job. You know? But yeah, it was and it's hard. It was so hard to get people out to Asia.
Yeah.
That's why we had such a significant amount of people who were Chinese nationals working, because it was much easier to get them on board than to get people to have visas to come out there at that time.
Right.
So
countries didn't want people to have Chinese visas, and China didn't want to give them away.
No, exactly. There was a lot of political issues at that time. So I was really lucky to like get out there, like super lucky.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that is pretty nuts.
It was really hard initially, and then restrictions started to get lifted because all the restrictions were in place from the home port. So wherever your home port is, in this case Hong Kong, they go, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And they would send on people for a cruise, just walk around the ship and make sure we had social distancing signs down, make sure we had people making sure people were socially distancing, make sure people were wearing masks on every venue. That
was
we
this
weren't
the Chinese side, or was this Royal? Because I know Royal had positions.
This was
for that.
China.
Wow.
This was the home port specific requirement.
Wow.
And Royal wanted to make sure not only did we comply, but we also went a little bit above compliance, so that it's one of those things. You always aim to go above meeting expectations, so you guarantee.
Right. So if you fail, you're still fine. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, exactly. And that saved us from having to cancel any sailing until January 2nd.
Because I think Royal was one of the first ships back in sailing, if I remember that right. And then there was other companies that came back. You heard an outbreak, and you were like, fuck, that's going to hurt the company. Because this is when Jared was in it as well.
Australia.
We docked with it.
800 cases in Australia when they docked in Sydney.
We docked with it, and when we were kicked off the ship, when they sent everybody home.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't know if it was the Golden or not, but that one was docked in the main spot, like by the bridge right next to the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah.
And we docked at the bay on the other side of the Sydney Opera House, which is a really fun fact. I pointed out to Jared that if you watch the Netflix movie Anyone But You with Boobs and Top Gun guy, when he jumps off the cliff at the end and the helicopter drops him off, we walked up that pier that he gets dropped off at. I was like, Jared, you know we were on that, right? And that's where they kicked us off and things like that. But we could see the Princess ship just like chilling there. You're like, is that the one that's like going to kill the planet? We're like, I don't know. We don't even know what's going on right now.
So, Rue, obviously, you guys aren't doing 70s type stuff anymore, like we used to grind on guests and turn them into spring break parties every turnaround, or we'll say day 4 at 11.
Boys Gone Wild?
Yeah, exactly. So what are you guys doing now? Since you're not doing, obviously, people running around in loincloths and putting their asses on old women in wheelchairs.
We are doing 70s.
Oh,
right.
Ooh.
We still do 70s. We now do 80s. We do 90s on some ships.
Okay.
There's a variation of 70s on some ships, which we call Disco Inferno.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disco Inferno. So we still do that stuff. It's obviously a lot more the guys still dress up as the YMCA.
That's awesome.
Indian. You still have the policeman, you still have the leather man, the construction worker. All those things are still in there. It's a massively popular party.
Okay.
Because when we did a quantum class as a guest, they still danced on the stage, but they're not allowed to intermingle with the crowds anymore. And when we did the big ships again, same kind of thing. Like, it's way more of a show than like old ladies trying to touch all your body oil as you dance by. So, like, are they thinking about lifting those and letting you guys get back into the mosh pits? Or is it like, no, you kind of have your designated dance areas and boxes?
It's a lot. The thing is, they want it to be standardized. So whatever the party is, they want it to be standardized on every. So whenever you change song, you need to go back to whatever position you're supposed to be in. So you can't just run around the dance floor and do whatever you want. It needs to look like it's organized, and that the whole thing is a lie.
Yeah,
But
Fish and I
Rue-
had it in the days of like, yo, Fish, did you see that group of old ladies over there? Like, we're going. And then, like,
Get down on it. Come on. It was there, and it was like the song to do it.
yeah.
Rue, how much baby oil did you go through in your day?
I didn't need it because I sweat profusely, so I was fine.
Okay.
See, again, this is why Rue and I bonded so much. Like,
So well.
we're getting ready for 70s, and everybody's lubing up. Like, oh, did you guys already get some? Like, nah, just hot. Like,
Yeah. We used to do the push-ups before to get like pumped. We used to do like an ab day and like a chest day on the night, and then just before we started to go out, we'd do like push-ups, some dips, whatever, just to get super pumped, and then head out.
Of
That was
course.
the way.
Were you ever in any parades as any characters or any fun costumes?
Oh yeah.
What's been your favorite?
Oh yes. Alex the Lion.
Oh, that's a good one.
So good.
oh my God.
That was a lion. So
Yeah,
you can
that's fair. You got a lot going for you on Gloria. I think Fish as King Julian could give you a good run for the money. But the hitting, you'd make kids cry, but like Julian's hand's normal size, so it's like, dude, King Julian just like bitch slapped that whole row of kids.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're gonna talk to him about it.
I've punted my fair share of morts and like slapped a mort or two. The one time I made made this little kid cry was Nagy was actually my wrangler at this time.
No way.
Which was like such a not.
They were like, "Hey, can you take a picture with the kid?" And it was in a stroller. And so I go over and I take the picture, and then I just take the kid and start walking off with it because they're all standing right there. And I just get into the elevator. They think it's hilarious and are taking pictures and videoing me the whole time. Nagy's so confused because I'm just walking off with the child. And I get in the elevator and I go down like 3 or 4 floors. Kids start crying. I came back up, but it was...
Yeah, Wrangler for Fish was a misnomer because like he has such visibility. Like Alex the Lion kind of has a hard place to see. Gloria's fucked. The Penguins hit or miss. Fish had full visibility, so I wasn't his Wrangler. It was like, yeah, just keep up with him. And yeah, I'm posing for pictures, doing whatever, and even I'm like, hey man, what the fuck are you doing? And we're in an elevator.
I used to try and run away from my Wranglers. Just to see if they could figure out where I'd gone. And like hide behind posts and other characters.
Oh yeah, that's definitely Fish.
Yeah, but you're also trying to hide a giant lion. I was in a costume that was pretty much skin tight, and all I had was this little head that I had to worry about. The rest of it was just...
Right, just on there.
Yeah, it was warm. It was so warm in that costume. But like, I'd finished like a 6.5, 7 hour shift on the sea day on the deck, going into parade in the afternoon at like 5 p.m. I was sweating some.
Oh yeah.
I'd get in that thing. I'd get out. I was like the River Nile. Like I was soaking.
Mad props to whoever had to clean all those costumes.
Somebody just dumped out all the vodka water in the thing.
I just told them, don't sniff.
Yeah.
Don't sniff.
I apologize to everyone near this. Yeah. Does Utopia have any? It doesn't have like a parade thing. They just have dances or what?
Utopia has a sick parade.
Okay.
It does. So you know how we now have the new Effectors shows?
Correct.
They have the Effectors parade, and all the singers, dancers are dressed up as Effectors characters, and the singers are doing their specific character for the show. And then the dancers have really good costumes. And it's only dancers, singers, Aqua, Ice that are actually doing choreo. Everyone else is around.
Effectors is like Royals Avengers.
Yeah. It's
you can't say that.
It's a superhero show, essentially. Based around light, cameras, technology, kind of the idea behind it. But yeah, it's really cool. Like,
That's
it's a
awesome.
really good parade. And I think it's because they're utilizing people that are really talented in those areas to be able to do stuff that we couldn't do.
You mean
we're
sports
not-
staff Caribbeans on flashy outfits on BMX bikes is not what they want to impress kids with acrobatics?
Couldn't possibly say.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. So
No,
do
they-
the
they
sports
have-
staff
they have
involved
Segway.
in that parade or that show at all? Are they like extras or?
Yeah, so we have sports staff actually pushing the let's call them podiums on wheels.
Yeah.
So they're pushing
Mhm.
people that are on podium. That's their entire job on parade.
Oh, that's dope.
Kind of a bummer, but still cool to actually have like
Yeah.
the legit one.
Well, it's just kind of assistance for stage staff because the stage staff can't do that entire job.
Hmm.
And then the youth staff dress up as like they dress up in like dino suits. You know where you have like the dino, you're riding the dinosaur,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're the top hat, like that, and they're wrangling kids along the promenade. So they take some of the kids
Oh,
down from the kids club,
That's
and they get
sick.
to be part of the parade.
That's,
that's
so
so
cool.
Yeah, so it's really well done. It is very well. Definitely
Yeah,
have a look
'cause-
on YouTube if you have a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super down because the last one we had that changed the game from DreamWorks Parade to something new was Symphony, with the introduction of like just the nautical theme, the segues, the better themed dances, the muscles.
Cool.
The Seamen, probably? I don't know.
No.
What were you guys called?
Anchors away.
Anchors away. That's right. That's where I learned to drive a Segway, and we learned to hack it to go off off
Yeah.
Turtle into Rabbit, and we would just cause mayhem. And yeah, it was the week after I left that Kieran was the first one to tip over on a Segway. Like ran into like Scott, and they ate it. And then after that, I heard about it like 3 more times. But up until then, we were flawless.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Rue, what is you've been everywhere. You've been doing this for 8 years at this point. What is your one kind of must-see port for everybody before they die? Like, if this port had to go on your bucket list for somebody, what would it be? And why?
Singapore.
Ooh, okay. We haven't
Really?
heard Singapore yet. Why?
No.
Because you just come into there and it's everything's so close to Singapore. I don't know if you know much about Singapore, but Singapore is a country that you can drive from one end to the other in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's that small. Like, it is tiny. It's got like a population of 8 million, but it's tiny. The shopping centers are stunning. The gardens by the bay is beautiful. The airport is by far the most beautiful airport I've ever been to.
Absolute
In the
best one in the world. Yeah.
The zoo, there's 3 separate parts to the zoo, and that is amazing. There's so much to do in Singapore, and it is all attainable within it.
Yeah. The Arboretum was one of our favorites as well. That was always near the port.
I mean, I could pick a place for every continent, to be honest. Because
Right.
even Sydney's phenomenal. Sydney's wildly. I know Nagy's probably thinking like Tauranga or someone a bit more adventurous.
Yeah. Those were on my list, yeah.
But I never had the opportunity to enjoy Tauranga. I only went there twice.
Okay.
So I never got to go to like Hobbiton or any of the really cool places.
Yeah. Well, it's just
But-
interesting that you picked 2 very good cities. Like
Yes.
Singapore we've talked about, but like you said, it's all attainable, but like it's nuts because you're in the middle of the city and then you're at the zoo, then you're at the Arboretum, then you're
Yeah.
in the indoor areas, then you're at these malls that are insane. That like put the Mall of America in a foreign country with like it's not Annie's Pretzels and Dunkin' Donuts. It's like Prada, Gucci, and
Yeah.
like a bunch of crazy brands you've never heard of, all actually kind of decently affordable. Like it is definitely so upscaled. But it's interesting that you picked the cities out of them that are again great fucking
Yeah.
cities. But
I mean, outside of that, I actually cruised on Jewel, and I went to Kakortok in Greenland, and
Ooh.
Prairie in Iceland. The landscape. I've never, like Iceland, I've never seen such a random change in landscape so quick. Going from like snow and ice straight into like, because the volcano was erupting at that.
Yeah.
You can feel why they believe it was forged by the gods, because it's so much is going on. It looks like it's almost an epic battlefield.
Yeah. And I think it depends, like, I think when you're new to ship, your priority for destination is to see something really beautiful, really stunning, go hiking, go walking, things like that. But after you've been ships on a long time, you're like, I want to do stuff. I want stuff to do that maybe doesn't involve me hiking all the time, but going shopping. I just want to be able to go and pick up a bag of Doritos, like, somewhere, anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's kind of turned into the priority now. Like, can I go shopping somewhere? Are there decent places I can go shopping? Can I get whatever I need? So it's gone from wanting to see beautiful, stunning places to being like, can I get off and in an hour and a half buy a pair of shoes, socks, t-shirts, and a hat?
Well, that actually leads right into my question, which is when you're on ships for that long period of time, you know, we've all experienced it, and you just said it perfectly. Like, I just need to, like, yeah, that Sydney's absolutely stunning. I've seen the Opera House. We're docked next to it. I need to go get just this, like, and what is your preferred, like, snack food? Like, what is or a couple foods that, like, you need to hit? Because, like, an example, when we would go with a couple Scots, they're like, it literally spelled like Wi-Fi. They'd be like, this place has iron brew and this specific tea. And they needed to go get it and come back and have a personal day of just like, I just shut the fuck up, leave me alone. I just want my iron brew and just sit here for a minute. So, like, if you're on board, after, like, when you're kind of missing homesick, like, what are a couple things that you're like, I need blank?
Percy pigs.
Oh, really?
Get me those Percy pigs from M&S. That will make me a happy man. And in Singapore, they have an M&S, so I got my Percy pigs.
Jeez.
So
and it's
happy.
like, that's what's crazy. It's just those small, like, it's that small thing. It's not like, oh, I just need this blah, blah. It's just that one small little thing of a soda or
high shoes in Japan.
Yeah, fair.
High shoes
Fair
are
play.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Japanese ports need a shout out. The Japanese ports, fire. Fukuoka, Nagasaki, amazing ports. The best food I've had on ships has been in those two. Hands down.
Absolutely.
When we had Alan on, I don't know if you ever met Alan, but he was another sports staff. He said the same thing. He was like, Japan's the best by far.
Yeah.
He's like, everybody's got to go to Japan. Okay.
If you do an itinerary, Japan is the one because all the ports are amazing.
Yeah.
There is not a port outside of maybe Kagoshima, which is so-so. Outside of that, port is phenomenal.
Okay. So we travel all around the world all the time when we're doing on cruise ships, and you could literally be the next day told you're going somewhere else. What is one item that you keep with you that always reminds you of home? Like, what's your one thing when you're like, you know what, I'm having a bad day. I'm going to go snuggle this, drink or iron brew, or watch this movie. What's your one thing that always just kind of helps you find center?
I think I'm at the point now where I'm more comfortable on a ship than I am at home all day.
Okay.
Yeah,
like,
that's super fair.
Weird. Because coming up to February, it'll be 9 years.
Damn, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm making way.
Save them. Save those.
Yeah. You say save those waves.
He did.
I say that to this day, and everybody stares at me. Dude, I still am in the bathroom, and like coworkers, they pull like 50 towels. I'm like, yo, save the waves. Like, what the fuck did you just say?
I must snap back, to be honest. I need to have.
That's very true. You always had a very impressive arsenal of. Yeah. You've been pretty infamous. I don't know if you've listened to how many of our other episodes. you were the one that updated us on the Avengers and the Endgame when everything was coming out, because Rue is a very huge Marvel DC.
Okay.
And his snapback collection of the Marvel DC was always like, where did you have room for your fucking luggage when you have this many hats and you go in the cabin and they're just like meticulously, beautifully hung on the wall? Like, those were always like, now that you say it, that's like you had like your artwork of your hats in there.
I think the other thing is
hats off to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing for me is Magic the Gathering. I adore Magic the Gathering, and I bring it with me everywhere I go. And I have 4 decks right now, 4 play mats, a lot of dice. If I find someone that plays it, it's happening.
That's why I say you and Fish missed each other by
We did a board game episode, and it was my ranked second. Magic.
Yeah. Wow.
Rue, I'm with you. I love that.
Magic,
and you can always find somebody to play Magic on the ship, too.
Yeah.
That is one that... And now, here's the bullshit, is they got cards in their language, though. So if you don't recognize the artwork, you're like, all right, bud. I don't know about this.
I recognize most of the artwork, sadly.
So, all right, Rue's a step ahead.
That's
okay.
This is what I do when I go home, though. I go home and I play board games and Magic. And I will spend evenings till like 2 a.m. playing board game. I spent an entire day from 9 a.m. till 11:30 p.m. playing one board game.
Which was it?
It was starts with T. It's like a
Terraform Mars.
No, not Terraforming Mars.
Would have been a cool one.
My mates kill me. We'll come back to it. I'll remember it.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So,
because I mean, again, that's how we would pass time on the ships. That's where we got our taste of home and camaraderie. It wasn't the parties, it wasn't the other thing. It was the sitting down. You got your iron brew, you got your snacks, you got your chips, you got whatever, but you're kind of just having that casual time to sit down and just like chuck blocks with other people.
We played, Nagy, Jer, and I did a short D&D campaign while I was on the Allure.
With Brazzo.
Brazzo played once, and all he did was shout fireball and throw the dice. That's all he did. Dude, it was awesome. We were so proud of him.
He threw so many monkey wrenches where Chris is like doing this elaborate thing, and as the fire settles, you see a pit opens up, and under the pit, and you're about to go, I jump in. And he's like, what? He's like, I jump in. And Jared and I are like, fuck it. We follow him. And Chris is just like, you can see one of those DMs like, fuck. Like, this is like, we had everything planned down to it. He's like, you guys are doing really well. And then like Brazzo was just rolling the perfect numbers where he's like, well, you're doing really dumb shit, but you're doing it very well.
Yeah, I'm still part of a D&D campaign. And if I have time on board, I just jump on. I just jump on and do it. They're super flexible.
What do you guys play on? Roll20 or D&D Beyond?
We're playing a Roll20. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit more practical for the guys, and you can bring up like the maps a bit better. I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially with ship internet.
Yeah. I've only got a phone though. I need a laptop if I'm going to continue with D&D because a phone is just not good enough.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I have all my notes handwritten, and then I update my character. It's proper cool. It's proper cool. I love D&D. It's like probably the 4th campaign that I've been part of now, and we're like level 5 characters now.
And that's with guys back home.
Yeah, and
that's amazing to maintain that kind of contact back home, man.
Yeah. So that's one thing I love.
Oh, one of our dreams is to get more people to go out and have these adventures that we did. So what is a message that you could give to somebody to try to convince them to go do it? I always say just go do one contract and your life will change. What's your message to people to, hey, just get on the boat, sign the damn paperwork, go through the medicals. It's random. It's kind of sketchy, but it's worth it.
I think if you really truly want to understand yourself and know how to survive as an individual, this is the best environment.
Okay.
Beautifully
Because
said.
you can make a ton of friends. Some of them may be completely shameless. Some of them may support you for life. You may know those people for years. You may know some of them for days, and they get off the ship, and it doesn't matter anymore. But you will learn yourself so much, and you will grow so much as a person, and start to understand what you really need and really.
That was beautifully put.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I keep saying to myself.
And that's what I say in the mirror every time that I want to quit
Every
from
day.
doing with stupid fucking guests. Yeah.
Every time I'm sitting on the toilet looking in the mirror while I'm brushing my teeth. That's the conversation.
Leaning over the side.
Yeah.
Over the on the toilet.
Jeez, man. That is beautiful.
Well, where can the people find you? If you want to shout it out at all.
Insta, Rue Lewis 93 on Insta. That's me. Any questions, any queries? Yeah, I'm happy to answer. Subjectively.
That's true. Like we've prefaced before, guys. He's still on ship, so he can't tell you the down and dirty like we can because it'll cost him his job. Those ones you can just forward back to us.
But I will say, like, super happy with the progression. Like everything I've gone through, everything I've learned. It's all felt very, very, what's the word? Appropriate. For me to be where I am now, from all the steps that I took, it was such a natural progression. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel too late. It just felt really right at the times it happened. So I'm super happy with that. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You either love this life or you don't.
Right.
I know nothing else. And this is what I think I'll be doing for at least a couple more years to come, and see wherever the next
awesome,
step
man.
takes. So,
how long are you going to be on Voyager?
I'm only here till February 8th. I go on vacation.
Well, Jara should be popping down there. Might be dragging me with her to Orlando one more time.
You better come because you've ditched me twice now.
I have. I know. You're right. Taking care of my son in the cold is like way better than being on a cruise ship with you guys.
Wow. I see how it is.
Well, do you guys know why?
Soon, man.
Do you guys know why they make piers?
This is a joke.
Because these rough waters ain't for everybody. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
This is AB Fantasy, brought to you by Schnaggles. Hey guys, Nagy here. Got a nice little book I wrote. This is for my son Atlas, available on Amazon. You can order your copies. This is an alphabet book to teach your kids all the letters of the alphabet with amazing pictures and fun rhyming schemes. I was really bored of reading Atlas's books because they weren't entertaining, so I decided to make one of my own. But check it out. Give it a like on Amazon. Made it as cheap as possible while still making a solid $1.50 for myself. So check it out. It'll make the hero out of all of us while we learn the alphabet together. Thanks, guys.